that as selecting a suitable contractor if you didn't have the competence on your side?
Okay, so the evaluation process was one where we looked at the HSE management. First of all, that the contractor understood the scope. So he was required to sign off on the scope and the addendum to ensure that he knew and understood and accepted the scope.
Just if I could interrupt, how did you validate that? How did you verify that then, if you don't have the specialist skills to determine that?
We would have evaluated from a higher level. From a high level, not going down into all the nitty-gritty details of, because that, for us, we would have to rely on the expert contractor to provide that. So the contractor would have provided a method statement for us to look at, and on our evaluation, it seemed fair and reasonable. The contractor would always have provided a schedule that showed that he understood the sequence, he understood the job. The contractor would have provided a list of previous work conducted that of similar complexity, also to the equipment that he has and the competent people to execute the job with respect to the relevant documentation for, let's say, the cranes and stuff like that. So it demonstrated that the contractor for us was competent to execute the work.
But if you don't have anyone to determine, that's why you said you hired a specialist. What was the criteria you used to determine competency, or again, scoring and selection? I think.
Well, that's why we built into the scope that the contractor has the responsibility for developing, for provision of competent personnel for the job.
Right. Let's see how far we can go, please. You're next.
Mr. Wee, good afternoon. Kamini Prasad Maraj for LMCS. So let me take you right where Commissioner has left in relation to the specialist contractor that you're talking about. You're saying that LMCS was hired as a specialist contractor. Yes.
Give me a minute. Yeah, but I don't know where she's coming from, so I want to be accurate.
Concern yourself with where she's coming from.
If
you could confine yourself to answering the question, then we will get finished before the end of today.
The terms
there's something specific you want to refer to.
The term in the scope of work, I can't remember, but yes, a competent, experienced specialist contractor. I don't know if that's the exact wording in the ITB, but yes.
All right. So let me take you to your scope of work. And this would have been coordinated from your office and department, correct?
Yes.
You would have had input in it as well. Can I have the introduction? It is page 4196 of the submissions bundle. Did you communicate this, that you were looking for specialist contractor to the vendors that the ITB went out to?
When you say communicated,
yes.
Verbally or in the bid document?
No, while they're finding it. So, yeah, okay, good. Did this specialist contractor that you were looking for, was that communicated when the invitation to bid went out?
I was not part of the meetings, so I specifically had to answer that question.
So, okay, so you're looking, Paria, you've been saying that LMCS has been hired as a specialist contractor. So that means you were looking for a specialist contractor to perform the works for the contract, which was eventually issued to LMCS.
Yes.
Right. So look at a document in front of you, please. It's your scope of work, and at 1.0 it says, Paria Fuel Trading Company Limited, Paria, is seeking to engage the services of an experienced and qualified construction and fabrication contractors for the execution of miscellaneous works detailed below. Is there, so I'm going to ask the question again, was there a communication that you're looking for a specialist contractor?
Right. That is why I said I wanted to see this before, but the chairman.
No.
So we were looking for experienced and qualified construction fabrication contractor.
Right, but not a specialist. You would appreciate that specialist would be something different from experienced and qualified. You can accept that.
For me, this is a specialist contractor in the construction and fabrication.
So for you, this means specialist.
This is specialist services, diving, subsea welding.
I'm asking you if from what your document, Paria's document, which went out to the contractors, if from what I have read, right, you are comfortable by saying that you have communicated to those contractors who would have been bidding that you are looking for a specialist contractor.
The specific words that were said in the
And the specific words, sir,
in the virtual meeting at the time of the tender, I am not aware of what was said. I was not part of that meeting. So what was communicated then? Well, on here, Paria is asking for experienced and qualified construction and fabrication contractor.
all right. Are you familiar with project management consultant?
Project management consultant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you explain to us what is a project management consultant?
Someone you can hire to provide the technical expertise for project management.
All right. In circumstances where there's specialist-oriented work to be performed.
You can choose, you have the obligation to, or you don't need to.
When you say you, who do you refer to? We're talking about, I am asking you in
a contracting body. Any company has the option to either to use the option of a project management consultant or not.
Isn't it usual in the industry where you are hiring independent contractors or contractors to perform works that you require them to do, to have a project management consultant when you don't have on board, like you have said earlier today, on board a specialist or a person duly qualified or a team qualified to...
It depends, but it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory.
So it's optional.
It's optional if you
And
deem so.
Paria saw it best not to utilize that option to have a specialist consultant or a project management consultant, sorry. Yeah. And I would like to take you through the contract, the documents that you'd have sent. Can I have clause 6.1? Scroll down. Six point 1.1, yeah. So if you can read that. Oh.
.573. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Am I?
Can I get your document? Right.
Not on my
Right.
573.
Can you, the screen is turned toward you, so might I ask you to please, okay. Fine.
Sorry, I'm confused, I'm afraid. I don't know where we're going or what we're doing here. Which document is it you want this gentleman to look at?
I have clause 6.11.
Right.
And that would have been part of the scope of works.
Good.
Yeah.
Proceed from there.
Right. So it says here, the contractor shall instruct his personnel on the safety regulations, safe working practices, and conditions that are required for an industrial marine environment, and he may seek advice on safety matters from Paria's representative. Do you see that?
Yes.
All right. So you're saying this specialist contractor should seek the advice of Paria, who does not have the expertise.
Okay, again, you see, the specialist contractor, experienced contractor, is working on a specialized task. He is doing a job in an environment, a facility that has other risks. So, yes, he may seek advice on safety matters from Paria representative with respect to the other risks of running the facility.
But wouldn't he have been experienced in that environment? A specialist who's experienced and competent. That is what you're saying. I'm going with what you're saying.
Correct. He may
So
not,
why would he need to seek Paria's?
he may seek advice.
Yes.
If
And
there's
it's
some
written in
area
your
that he
contract
doesn't know, he wants
document.
clarity on, he may seek advice.
Okay. Can we go to 6.38? Right. It says here, the contractor is responsible for provision of the job safety method statement, job hazard analysis, risk assessments, which will be reviewed by Paria's representative. We've accepted that that is your process.
Yes.
Right. I know this will be a repeat of what Mr. Commissioner has asked you. But in the instance where Paria is not the expert in the reviewing of these documents, what is the standard by which the presentation from the company is judged and dealt with?
Run that question again.
So, when LMCS would have presented to Paria its method statements and job safety hazard analysis and risk assessments for Paria to review, being that you're not the specialist or you don't have the understanding and expertise to the extent of a specialist, right? How would the submissions from the contractor be properly adjudicated upon?
That would be on the onus of the specialist contractor to be competent to develop the method statement and risk assessment and identify the hazards.
So then that process of submitting for approval to Paria, it's just a named process. There is no purpose behind that.
The purpose
that
here is to ensure that the
mechanism.
contractor develops a method statement and hazard analysis, would have gone through a due process of developing a method statement and a job hazard analysis and risk assessment.
And I understand that, sir.
Right.
But in developing those documents and they're sending it to you for review and approval,
Right.
right? By what measure
mentioned
of
again,
standard
Paria
are you
will
going
not be
to verify?
Paria will not be able.
I think, if I may say so,
Yes.
what Mr. Way is trying to say is there's no point in buying a dog and then barking yourself.
Yeah.
And he is saying,
Yes.
in effect, that he has employed this specialist, rightly or wrongly, without any verification, whatever we conclude. But what he is relying on is he's saying, I'm relying on LMCS as the specialist. Am I right?
Yes.
And therefore, there is no room for me to review it. That is what he's saying. Whether we accept that, of course, is a matter for in due course.
And I can move on from this. I'd like to take you through the method statement prepared. 116. 116. Method statement. Page number. On the core bundle, 1048. Right. So you would have familiarized yourself with this document by now. We've had two persons question you on it. I would like to take you to paragraph, to number 86 on page
1052.
Thank you. '86 reads, repeats steps 15 to 28 to install migration barrier and mechanical plug just below proposed location of new topside flange.
Can you scroll up the page so that Mr. Way can see the heading under which this is?
15. You see that?
Yes.
All right. So would you like to see what the steps are from 15?
No, okay, that's okay. I need.
You're familiar with it because you're familiar with the
Ask
methodology.
the question, and if I need to refer back, I'll.
Well, I would like to see it, so can you put it up on the screen, please? 15.
So what do you understand by repeat steps 15 to 28?
To repeat.
In the method of the work. Now you're saying that the plug, the mechanical and the inflatable plug, the barrier in particular, that's what you said. The barrier was to remain. And that the barrier consists of, as we know, the two plugs.
Yes.
Right? So you're saying that was supposed to remain in the riser section under the sea and not to be taken out.
Correct.
So now I'm asking you, in relation to this step here that is on the method statement, as part of the methodology in the performance of the work, what do you understand when it says repeat steps 15 to 18 to install migration barrier and mechanical plug just below the proposed location of the new topside flange? What is this step saying to you?
To reinstall the plug.
All right. And in order to reinstall the plug, wouldn't that necessitate the taking out of the plug from below? Would you accept that to be true?
In that method statement, yes.
Okay. So in other words, you would accept that according to the method statement, the plugs were to be removed, the mechanical barriers were to be removed.
I'm not saying that.
You're not saying that?
I'm not saying that. That is conflicting what I said. The method statement, the lines that you mentioned with the removal of the plugs, right? That should not have been, contemplated then, according to my statement, because you would have the ingress of the fumes.
Okay. Can you tell us who Terence Rampersad Singh is?
Terence Rampersad Singh was the planner, Paria planner, assigned for offshore works.
All right. All right. There is can you go to page of the supplemental witness statement bundle, page 2924? So this is an email from LMCS to Terence Rampersad Singh on the 4th of January 2022. Can you scroll? Thank you. And If you can you please read that out? Can you see that sufficiently clear?
Yes.
Yes. Would you care to read that?
You want me to read it out loud?
Yes,
Or
you
personally?
can. You can read it out loud.
No, I'll read it personally. Yes?
Have you read it
Yes?
to yourself? For the benefit of everyone. Can you get it for me? 1 second, please. I would care to read that out loud for the benefit.
Not all of it.
Not all of it, just... It says, see attached documents for caption job with revised method statement. To answer the question asked, question 1, will the inflatable plug also be raised to the top of the new riser section when the cutting and welding of the new flange above water? And the answer was yes. Both the inflatable plug and the solid barrier will be reinstalled at the top before hot works begin. Steps 86 has been updated. Will the new, and then question 2, and then it goes on. Will the newly installed flange above the water need to be hydrolyzed within the chambers? Okay, so it's the first question that I would point you to, right? So that would have been a question that was asked and it's been answered. And at the foot of that email, we see Ahmad. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I can tell you that Ahmad is a representative of LMCS. He is the HSE officer. Yes?
Yes. So are you saying
And
that
he's saying to Rampersad Singh in a specific email dealing with the methodology that has been submitted to Paria, what exactly is to be done.
Okay.
And you see that?
Yeah.
And do you see that it's clear that the plugs were to be reinstalled at the top?
What I see there is Ahmad, based on what he was, with respect to the job, he did not see that there was a hazard at step 56.
I'm not asking about a hazard.
No, because had that question been asked, I don't know who asked that question, right? And I don't know.
I appreciate
who asked
that.
question.
I appreciate
But
that.
The question here,
Well, hang on just a minute. Can you scroll down so that Mr. Wake can see?
From
No,
Kazim
scroll the
Ali
other
to
way.
down.
Sorry, the other way. So you can see the top. Yes, it's using, on the face of this, Mr. Kazim Ali's email address and being sent to Mr. Terence Rampersad Singh's email address, but it's signed off by Ahmad. All right, so that's what we have.
yeah, but I don't know who sent the questions. But if it's, what I know is Ahmad is answering some questions with respect to the reinstallation of the plug. So,
No, Ahmad is answering to answer the question asked. So he's answering.
I mean,
He's
Ahmad seems to have
irrespective of
picked
who.
up the first,
Sir,
the
Just
first
one at a time,
change.
please. One at a time. Let Mr. Way
Yes.
speak.
Go ahead, Mr. Wayne.
Ahmad is saying to reinstall the plugs. So that Ahmad could have seen that the plug should not have been removed. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying exactly what has been said, that the plug has to be reinstalled to the
I don't know who
top.
asked this question, but I'm speculating here.
I don't need you to speculate, sir. I'm simply asking you to...
I'm not going to permit this, right? If you can ask a question, he can answer it.
Certainly.
Right? When he's finished answering it, then you can ask him.
I'm guided, please.
Would this not show that Ahmad could have seen that if step 56 and 57 was incorrect, he should have picked it up here? Because someone asked why you reinstall the plug. He knew that if you remove the plug, then you would have hydrocarbon vapor making explosives. So that's one. So I think that is what you're trying to tell me?
No. I'm just trying to confirm that indeed Ahmad is
Right.
indicating that the plugs will be reinstalled.
Yeah, that's what he's saying
Thereby,
there.
the inference that the plugs will be removed, because you have said that the plugs ought not have been removed.
Right, and this here says that Ahmad should have seen that he should not have removed the plugs.
Where in that statement is in that Ahmad should not remove the plugs?
Because if someone asked him to reinstall that plugs and he was thinking about it, he would say, if I remove the plugs inside the chamber, that's a hazard. So he should have seen that this was not feasible. And then further, the reinstallation of the plugs would not have been possible because there was this bar, as I mentioned earlier, at the top. So, to me here, this should have, LMCS with this here, Ahmad should have specifically seen that the 86 steps could not have been done because of the bar, the lifting bar at the top. And he should have seen that 56 and 57 steps. It should have alerted him to 56 and 57. And that's what I'm reading here.
So in other words, what you're saying to us is that from the information being given by Ahmad to Mr. Rampersad Singh, somebody should have said that this ought not to have been done.
I would expect Ahmad to have said that, looking at that.
Okay.
But I don't know the full context of the email, so.
And I appreciate that. I would like to ask you some questions on the permit to work. Yes.
Before you do that, I think it's only fair that you draw Mr. Way's attention to the preceding email. This is an email.
Below?
Yes, this is an email that you've referred him to of the 4th of January, Tuesday, the 4th of January, 2022, at 3:59. There's an email preceding that, which is at the bottom of the page, which is the 4th of January, 22 at 1:22. And this is from Kazim Ali again, and it appears to be to Terence Rampersad Singh. So there are two emails.
Yes, yes.
And they're replying to each other. And if you go over the page, it says, "Good day. See attached documents for the above captioned job." This is from Ahmad Ali to Rampersad Singh.
Yes.
And he includes in that the method statement, the job safety analysis, and the lift plans. Are they not the documents that were attached to the work schedule?
That is certainly, those were the documents attached.
So you can see there, Mr. Way, that the very documents that I was referring to that have been attached to the work that day, or the days that were to be done, are the very documents that apparently seem to be attached and being sent to your Mr. Rampersad Singh.
Yes.
Yes. So can we take it, since he was the person who was carrying out the meeting and authorizing the work, he attached these documents to that work permit, which you referred to in your statement, which we've spoken about.
Yes. Those, well, not he specifically would have attached it, but those were the documents that would have been with the permit to work.
Well, he says, doesn't he, in this email, the job here is to perform the work of replacing the leaking section of SL36 riser at berth 6. Work tasks include, and he sets them out, and we didn't read them all now, but you can see what he's saying there, can't you? It supplements, does it not, what he's set out in his method statement?
Tasks include installation wise.
Yeah.
So the steps that he has here with Ahmad writes here, work tasks include installation of migration barrier and line plug,
Yes.
installing the hyperbaric chamber onto the existing riser,
Yes.
which at this point would have already had topside piping removed, displacing all seawater from the chamber with breathing air, cut the piping, cut the leaking riser segment off, evacuating and flooding the chamber, removing the cut section, the barge deck, installing new riser piping, not remove plugs and install them, installing new riser piping,
Yeah.
displace water again, copper flange faces and coat specification, removing the chamber and cutting the new riser pipe to length above water.
Yes.
And after that step would have been the removal of the plugs.
Well, he doesn't
He
say
said it
that.
here.
Sorry? Doesn't say after that would be the removal
Well,
of
at
plugs.
this stage here, for him to return the system to Paria, he would have to then remove his isolation, which is a migration barrier.
Yeah.
So, on face value, after cutting the new pipe riser, pipe to the length above the water, the next step would have been remove migration barriers.
And
It's
that's
written
why
there.
I showed it to you.
Thank you very
because
much,
that
Chairman.
No, of course. But that on its own, one can readily appreciate that that must be how it was understood to be. What I'm not clear about is what then comes that you've been asked about changing the steps 15 to 28 and then repeating them at 86. You see, scroll back again, please. Question 1. Will the inflatable plug also be raised to the top of the new riser section when cutting and welding for a new flange above water? Is that a question suggesting that the plug is going to be moved? The inflatable plug is going to be moved?
Yes, this is a suggestion that the inflatable plug will be removed out of sequence as what he had in his email
Yeah.
preceding.
Quite. And then the answer is yes, both the inflatable plug and the solid barrier will be reinstalled at the top before hot works begin. Step 86 has been updated to reflect this now, blah, blah, blah. So without looking at the works, the statement, the method statement, without looking at that, that would suggest that you're taking the chamber off and then reinstalling the plugs at some point. Is that what you understand it to be?
Removing the chamber and reinstalling the plug. The step here?
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
you see, what I want to know is what you understand this to mean, right? Because on its face, it suggests, it doesn't say anything about the removal of the plugs in the first email, does it?
No.
No. It talks about putting them in.
Talks about putting them in.
Right. And then this second email is talking about reinstalling the plugs. And I want to know whether you understood this to mean after the hyperbaric chamber has been taken off, before it's been taken off. What did you understand this to mean?
This would be after the hyperbaric chamber has been removed.
Right. So the plugs would have been removed at some point, you say, also after the hyperbaric chamber has been taken off.
Yes, after the hyperbaric chamber is removed, then you remove the plugs.
And then put them back in again.
No, there would be no need to remove the plugs after the hyperbaric chamber is removed.
That's what
Only when you finish
That's
the
what
job.
I want to understand. Are you putting the plugs back in again after you've taken them out and after you remove the hyperbaric chamber?
If the plugs would not to be removed, if the plugs were not to be removed,
Well, they've got to come out at some time.
right, but at the end of
There's
the
a block
job,
in your pipe, right?
at the end
So
of the job,
you tell us that your understanding is that these plugs have to come out when the hyperbaric chamber has been removed.
correct.
Right. And then, but why would you be putting them back in again?
You would take them out when the job is finished. There was no need to put it back in.
Right. So this
Had it
is,
not been,
to use a quaint English expression, gobbledygook. It means nothing, does it? What is the point of putting them back in again?
okay. This here went on the assumption that the plugs were removed inside the chamber,
Yeah.
and then to reinstall them from outside the chamber.
Right. So it was clear, at least to Mr. Rampersad Singh, that that's what they were going to do, if not to you.
I don't know, because I don't know what he would have read and what he would have thought of.
No, well, we'll ask him in due course. But, I mean, just on its face, Mr. Way, so that I understand, please,
Yeah.
because I've always understood your evidence to be quite clear about this,
Right.
that this hyperbaric chamber has to be removed first before you have anything to do with touching these barriers.
Right. In my statement, the steps I said was just remove hyperbaric chamber.
Yep,
And then cut to the required length.
yep.
And after that work is finished, then you are able to remove the hyperbaric. Then you are able to remove the plugs.
Right.
If you moved it out of sequence before, you would have then have fellas, before you put on the new riser, you would have had hydrocarbon vapors entering the hyperbaric chamber.
Yes, we're departing from the issue
Yeah.
here now. I just want to know what the point of putting them back in is.
In this statement here, it is considering that the plugs were removed inside the chamber successfully. And then there was additional hot work that was required to be done again. So the plugs need to be installed again.
So take them out, then remove what this is saying, take them out, remove the hyperbaric chamber, there's more hot work to be done, so put them back in again.
Yes.
Right. That's what you understand it to mean, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm sorry to have interrupted. I'm conscious of the time, but we are going to proceed.
I'm grateful. So you've touched on hydrocarbons. So I'd like to move to the hydrocarbon point. In your witness statement at paragraph 85, you say this, and please allow me to read. More importantly, the removal of the migration barriers would have caused a dangerous disturbance of the atmospheric conditions inside the hyperbaric chamber and the differential pressure between inside the pipeline and inside the chamber. With regard to the former, it would have allowed the hydrocarbon fumes from the pipeline to enter the chamber, which would then contaminate the breathing air inside the chamber, right? And I think that's the point that you have been making in relation to the removal of the barrier, in relation to the aspect of the safety mechanism that it provided with
Yes.
respect to the hydrocarbon. Do you know the content of the kind of liquid that was in the 36 sea line?
Fuel oil.
Fuel oil. All right. And what can you tell us about flashpoint?
With respect to the flashpoint of fuel oil,
Yes.
I don't know it offhand.
Okay. But can you explain to us what is a flashpoint?
The point at which the hydrocarbon would ignite.
Will ignite or the vapors start rising?
I can't recall. Flashpoint. Just help me with the definition, because
Sorry?
I mean, do we need to develop this? I mean, I think we can all appreciate that we don't want to be breathing in fumes from hydrocarbons. And if that's what he was trying to safeguard, then that seems to me entirely reasonable.
Well, if I may, can you please find page 76 of the core bundle? So we have here So this is a Paria fuel trading document. Yes?
Yes.
Right. And you will see fuel oil. And then we have some description below. Let me take you to line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Vapor density. Do you see that?
Yes.
All right. And it says that it's heavier than air. Do you see that?
Yes.
Can you explain that to us?
That the density of the vapor is heavier than air.
Right. So in the hyperbaric chamber, can you tell us what is introduced in the hyperbaric chamber for it to have a dry environment?
Normal air.
Air. So in other words, what it's saying is that in simple lay language, the density or the vapor density of the fuel oil is heavier than the air that is introduced in the hyperbaric chamber.
At standard temperature and pressure.
Standard pressure. So in other words, there would have been less likelihood of there being an issue with respect to hydrocarbon inhalation that leads to some unsafe environment.
Okay. That is, you have to consider other factors.
Certainly.
Right? One, temperature.
Right?
The temperature would affect the density,
Yes.
meaning that if it's hotter, it would be able to mix. Also, the air has, in the hyperbaric chamber, there's air coming in the hyperbaric chamber, for one, to keep the pressure in. So there are air currents inside. So with air currents inside and the line open, air is going to enter the line and displace the air. Right? The air is coming into, so it's difficult to say that there's no hydrocarbon coming in, but there definitely will be hydrocarbon coming in.
All
so
right.
as part of the risk assessment, you would isolate it so you don't have that possibility. You install a physical barrier. And that, so yes, I understand you alluding that if it's full of, if it's vapor,